From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Drussel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. That's weird. Okay.
They were like, these guys are never going to start.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Sorry.
If we didn't have technical difficulties.
Specifically to TZ.
Okay, now look.
He knows that.
Now look here. It's the same people just saying.
Yeah, and it was me blaming it on you.
Oh, okay. So
hi, Mel.
Hello, Mel.
Baby
See
Baby
good to see you.
I called him Baby Randy.
Baby Randy.
I meant
Bubba. Okay.
Oh, they're starting to come in.
All right, we got tapes from the dark side.
I'm super excited. I was
too.
Earlier.
You guys might remember. I think it's TZ from 7 months ago. We did a show.
I was nerding out about it beforehand. That's what we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't wait for you to have this conversation. So he's awesome, man.
Let's bring him on.
Yep.
Z.
What's up, TZ?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome. So Garrett told me that you had a paranormal experience that happened or something.
A weird experience, right?
Weird, yeah. So of course we got to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. You want me to get right into the this? So it's a house that I actually just sold, so we're closing on it in December. We didn't put that in the disclosure.
Great way to start off the story.
Yeah. But okay. So this was weird, and like, just to give you some background, me and myself, like, I keep an open mind as far as the paranormal goes, but I'm not exactly. But I'm not super into conspiracies. Like, I'm not like the person who has seen a lot of ghosts or anything like that. Like, my motto has always been that I respect it enough not to go challenging it. But if it comes across, like,
yes.
I'll keep an open mind. But yeah, this is probably the strangest thing I can think of that I've had firsthand experience with. So we're remodeling the kitchen in this house. Me and my dad was helping me, and we had ripped out all the cabinets. We tore up all the floors. And we had just the two where the sink was. We had the two water lines coming out, the hot water and cold water. We had locked them down. I mean, there wasn't really anything to it. They were already turned off and secured, and we were closing up for the night. It's probably like 6 or 7, and he goes home. He doesn't live too far away from where this house is. And I was sleeping upstairs. The house was kind of a wreck, but I didn't need much. It's just me and my cats. So go to sleep. I wake up in the morning to get ready to go to work on the kitchen again. It's probably like 8 a.m. ish, 7 or 8. And it sounds like someone's taking a shower downstairs.
Oh, no.
But I'm the only one in the house. So I was immediately kind of like, in that dream-like hazy state when you first wake up, like, what's going on?
Sure.
So I start walking downstairs, and as I'm coming down the stairs, it looks like a sauna in the downstairs. Like, there's water dripping from the walls and the ceiling before I turn the corner, and I'm like, so it's even feeling more like a dream, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I turn the corner, and the hot water line is full blast shooting up to the kitchen ceiling and like cascading down like a freaking water fountain, like
my God,
like Old Faithful. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it's so it's like a steam room, like you can barely see. So I'm like, I immediately panic. I call my first thought was that the water line broke or something.
For sure. Yeah.
I call my dad, and I'm like, you get over here. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
Before I even went over to check it out, I called him. I hung up. I ran over to like see what was going on. And here's the weirdest part. the line was just you know how you got the little handle. It was just unscrewed, and I just turned it and tightened it
Sorry.
down, and the water cut off. So all the doors were locked. I was the
So
only one
turned.
staying in the house. Like this is where I grew up. All my friends who would have been my first guest to play a practical joke don't even live here anymore.
Right.
That could be an expensive one too.
Dude, it's luckily we had to replace all the cabinets, but actually no, we didn't. Because we only had put in maybe one. So only one cabinet got damaged. It took a lot of work getting there was probably about 4 or 5 inches of standing water in the basement.
Whoa.
So I don't know how long the water had been going, probably an hour or two.
Oh my God.
What'd your pops think?
Okay, so this is where it gets weirder, or his insight into it, because he's a construction guy. So he came up as a carpenter. He's been a project manager for like 40 years now, or 30, 40
Knows
years.
his stuff.
So he's worked around. I mean, he's done remodels and stuff. So I asked him, because I was really curious to get his insight. Like, have you ever seen something like this? Like, what do you think? And he was like, never seen anything like this. Had absolutely no explanation for it. And he's kind of like me, like pretty, like not super Bigfoot. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
right? Yeah.
We're both kind of practical, and we're like,
right.
I don't know, man. So yeah, and I still have no explanation for it to this day.
Was there any like lingering feeling you had afterwards, like in the days
or
afterwards,
even before,
or before?
Not really. We had a few little things that we always wondered if they were paranormal, like sounds in the attic, but that could easily be explained by like squirrels or I had this light switch that would turn on. But I found out later it was one of those old push light switches where you have the two buttons like on and off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I realized what happened was I was like lazily going to bed and hitting it kind of like half closed, and it would pop
finishing
on.
It off, right?
So like all these other things, I would figure out explanations for them and kind of think, okay, but the water thing still is a total mystery.
Are you a sleepwalker?
I am, but I haven't sleepwalked in, I used to when I was a kid. I used to sleepwalk, sleep talk, really have night terrors.
Yeah, same.
All of this kind of insomnia.
I think that'd wake you up, though. I mean, if you turn just water.
Very strange. I mean, that is possible,
to the ceiling, right?
Like that's as logical as any
that's
other
a lot,
explanation.
Though. Like,
yeah, I kind of doubt it, though.
I know that's what I'm saying.
And I've had roommates now, and they one of them's a night owl, and I've asked them have I been sleepwalking and anything after that, and I haven't had any reports that I've been sleepwalking. But man, that would be a totally bad tendency to do when you sleepwalk.
Yeah.
Go
flood your house.
You sabotage your house every night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break some plates today.
Yeah. You go back up like nothing happened.
No, that makes as much sense as anything else I've heard. Sorry, go ahead.
I had a ghost who used to lock me out of the house.
Yeah.
And it did get expensive because I had to like knock in 2 doors. And the first time I did it, broke the frame. So I had to buy a frame, new door, and like replace 2 doors. Yeah, it was crazy, dude, because there was a glass sliding door. And I went out to feed the dog. And you can't lock yourself out of a glass sliding door. And I shut it and I walk in, I hear a click. And I was like, no way. And I walked back and the damn door is something locked it. Wow. So unfortunately I locked my front door when I came in. So it was like I had to bust in the side door to the garage to get in the house.
Well, I mean, it could be one of those things though, like, because I do think that that's probably one of the most terrifying forms of like paranormal experiences is when something physically happens. Like whenever you said like that you realized how it had to turn on, that like got super creepy to me because I'm like, okay. And those things happen. Do you think it was like because you guys were remodeling? Like, why would this have you?
That's what they say when you start changing it. How old's that house?
Well, that's the thing. It's probably I think the best estimate is 1925.
Oh yeah,
Whoa.
So
it
almost
could.
coming up on a century.
Well, a lot
Yeah.
of families have probably lived there. A lot of
Mhm.
energy, a lot of, kids. I mean, think about my house. Every time I talk to somebody on the phone, they're like, "This always sounds like your house is on fire. There's like a calamity." Like it's nuts because there's so much energy, right? And so, man, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's but I mean, that's what they say when you start, like, especially an old house, when people start remodeling it, that the spirits that live there, like, don't touch my house,
Well,
hey, leave it. It was beautiful when I lived there.
how
That makes
important
sense.
how
Yeah.
important is the kitchen too though, right? Like
Absolutely.
especially like there was a time in life where people would spend a lot of time in the kitchen and it was like very, you think about living through the 30s, right? The dust, all sorts of things. There could be like a really deep connection there. But that's really crazy.
And
So
just I'll never forget like I maybe I can't think of it right now. I've maybe had one or two other moments emotionally where you're just like in total shock. Like when I turned the corner and saw the through the fog and the
right,
steam,
yeah,
the
Yeah.
water shooting straight up full blast. It was like that moment where your brain can't comprehend what you're
right.
seeing
It's
really.
so radical.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, very strange feeling. Very,
that
very surreal.
is.
Yeah.
But man, that's the like I was on the last show. Was it the last show? Two show? No, last show. Dean.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's last
talked
show.
about a paranormal experience that I had recently, and like you, like I, and that's why it was so special. I think is because I doing the show realized how rare it is to actually like feel like you have a paranormal experience, right? But mine was like super emotional, and I actually remember what I was looking at while I was having it, right? So kind of like you just mentioned that vivid memory of the water shooting out in the fog. Dude, that
Yeah.
is like something AI would produce. Like honestly, right?
Dude,
We live in
it
a
was crazy.
simulation.
I don't think I'll that's a core memory now, I think at some
Right.
point. Yeah.
Hey, and you're probably so freaked out, like you missed that somebody was actually using that steam to write you a damn creepy message.
Oh god. I mean, it had been going for so long that it was
Crazy.
literally
I
dripping from
get
the
it though.
ceilings,
Yeah,
just
I've
like
seen it. Yeah.
man, yeah, very, very, very strange.
Well, and water is a very powerful thing.
Yep.
Like we've
Well,
talked
they say
about.
it conducts spirits and things, whatnot.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no.
Well, it got me wondering too if maybe I mean, I couldn't find anything historically. I did a tiny bit of digging, but like a drowning in the house
Mm.
or
Ooh,
there's a
yeah.
big bathtub upstairs,
that's
like this big
interesting.
old porcelain tub.
Right.
Um and yeah, it got me thinking about all Oh, wait, fuck. Did I Oh, sorry. Can I
Go.
cuss on the
Yeah,
Yeah,
show?
you
for
can cuss
sure.
on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did dude, I can't believe I forgot this. I did have one other experience in the bathtub that was a
Oh,
weird
I was
paranormal thing.
okay.
Let's hear
Because
it.
Please.
there's no shower upstairs, so
Just a bathtub?
yeah, just a bathtub.
That's nice.
There's a shower downstairs, but my other 2 roommates use that to get ready for work, so I would use the bathtub. Plus, I kinda like taking baths
Yeah,
anyways, it's
Yeah.
fine.
absolutely.
So anyways, I'm chilling in the tub. I probably took, I use the tub a lot, and it was the first and last time anything like this. And now, compared to the other story, this seems very benign, but almost in my memory, almost weirder
Mm,
because I saw it so close. I can't believe
mm,
I forgot about the story when I was thinking of things because it relates to the water and everything. So, you got the chain that comes down and it's
mhm.
attached to the plug.
Right.
So the plug had detached from the chain because the plug was so old. So I would just stick the plug in, take it out with my hands because I'm cheap. I
Yeah,
don't want to buy a new plug and
Right.
put it out,
guilty as
even though it's like
charged.
$2.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so
Mm,
that metal chain had it almost looks like a chain that you'd switch a light switch on with.
Right,
mhm.
right.
And at the end, it has like a keychain ring that kind of looks
Right.
like a keychain, and that's where the plastic plug was. But the plug was plugged in, and I forget, was I draining the water? I think I was already in the bathtub, and I looked over at the chain, and it would usually let me see how to explain this. It would usually come down here, be the surface of the water, and then the chain would hang down like here, straight
Mm,
down.
yes, 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 yes.
And when I looked over, I'm trying to get this right because of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things. So when I looked over, the chain instead going straight down was curved upwards, and the metal ring was right on the surface tension of the water, like
Oh,
this, like someone
yes.
almost like someone was holding it.
Oh,
I didn't
Yes,
see anything
yes,
holding it,
yes, yes.
but it's a metal chain, like, it's
Yes,
definitely
like it
heavier than
physically
water,
impossible, right.
and I'm looking at it like, am I like, why
Tripping.
how what's
Yeah,
the angle on this? I must be looking at it weird,
right,
and I'm
right,
looking over it. I'm looking from this end, and I put my hand over it thinking maybe there's, like, a piece
something.
of hair or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
and there's nothing there, and I just go over and I touch it, and it falls down. So I'm thinking
Ooh,
surface tension,
mm.
something like that, and because I have that kinda analytical mind, I spent,
Right,
like, the
right.
next week, hours
For
trying to
sure.
recreate it with a
Right,
piece of
right.
hair
Well, it's such a
tied to, like,
bizarre,
another
absurd
thing,
thing.
or, like, I tried to recreate it with soap, like, if there was more soap in the water,
Ah,
if
yes,
there was a
yes.
layer of soap, but the thing was that the ring wasn't, like, lying flat, like, you could maybe lay a penny on the surface of water if you have the right
Right,
surface
right, right,
tension.
right.
It was laying like this,
Oh, yeah.
and I spent hours trying to figure that out. Another thing that I brought up to multiple people to see if somebody I'm not a scientific like, I graduated college, but that's about
Yeah,
it. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
like a PhD.
Yeah.
So, but I brought it up to people like, "Hey, do you think how could this happen?" And no explanations. And of course, it's so benign that people kind of look at you like,
No,
"Why are you trying to float a chain on the?" But yeah, that's those two things are the weirdest things from that
yeah,
phenomenon.
but you're aware of it. Like, we talk about it all the time. Like, think about, how many times something paranormal probably occurs and you
Yeah, it's
just
just like
never.
life getting in the way, not paying attention, you know.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh,
I think a
that's
lot of things happen to probably lots of people, they just don't notice it.
right, right, right. Man, the water connection is kind of weird. You had never had any other kind of experiences within the house besides those two
Those two things,
that were significant?
and and I still hold out in my mind like there could be a scientific explanation, but it's one of those things where just rationally seeing it, witnessing it is so much
Mm,
more powerful than hearing it. Because I was the person who would roll their eyes
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
about things like that, and I still do when I hear myself tell, especially the bathtub.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
like roll my eyes at myself, but I know I witnessed it, and
Right,
like
right. No, for
just
But
sure.
you did a
just
deep
weird.
dive into debunking it too, so
Yes.
Yeah, and
yeah,
yeah,
So
so
it must have had like a more meaningful impact on you though. Like that's what I'm like wrestling with the, and in fact, like the experience I had, I only told a short list of people before I just told it on the show last week. But I even had talked to Keith's daughter, my sister-in-law, Taylor, and I asked her after I told her story, I said, "Do you think that's paranormal?" And she said, "Absolutely." Because I couldn't explain it.
and she's very skeptical.
She's very skeptical. But it was like I had this, and I still even in my meeting yesterday, I was telling the guy, I was like, man, I feel like I'm on a different vibration. That's what Dean had said.
Yeah.
So, but it was just because of this, I think, concoction of things that were happening at the same time, right? Like I was telling you, this vivid thing I had, this unexplainable experience. And so those two experiences you had, it's like there's this deeper thing that made you like super curious about it, want to figure it out, right? Like I love that. That's the most paranormal thing ever.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a paranormal experience you had for sure. Both of them.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
were you like feeling weird like because the water thing, that's kind of like a significant event if I'm being really honest. Like if that happened to me, I'd be freaking out for the next week. Like
yeah, and like that happened very soonish after I moved in. So like within the first year. But now I've lived there 3 years now, coming up on 4, and haven't had any other besides things that I was able to easily debunk, like
For sure.
Yeah.
and you know, to this day, if somebody, I would actually be relieved if somebody came up and said,
Absolutely.
"Hey, this is actually what was happening." I'd be like, "Oh, thank you,
See,
God."
and
Like,
that makes it even more paranormal though. And like
yeah,
again, I'm not trying to be a ball hog here, but like going back to my experience, it had happened a year ago. And then like I was telling Keith and the audience last week, I was like, I told my wife because she actually experienced that first time, she experienced it with me. And I literally looked at her and I said, I see why people could become addicted to heroin. Like because
Well,
they say,
you got to give him a back. I mean, kind of the background. Of
yeah,
that
yeah.
story.
I'm super
my-
He doesn't
curious.
know.
Okay,
He has
okay.
no idea what you're
Yeah.
talking
oh, I
about.
just don't want to
Yeah.
tell it like over and over on
Well,
the
just
on
go
the
ahead.
show. Okay, well,
Can you give me
my
the freeze dried? Yeah,
I'll do a quick one right here.
Yeah,
Okay. So
please.
and it's gonna start off, you're gonna be like, oh my god, like this got really crazy. But my twin brother passed away December 4th last year. Okay. He had
Oh,
never
sorry.
spoken or walked in his entire life for 37 years. We're twin brothers. He had a disability and he affected so many. It was like he has a nuts story for somebody that never walked or talked.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So when he passed away, it was a really shocking experience. And I just lost it. And I'm not an emotional person. And my wife had never seen me cry up to that point for 13, 14 years. So she was like, okay. Well, that night, I have a really tight family, they're very Catholic. So by that night, we had kind of pulled it together, got the kids asleep, and me and my wife were just in our living room. I will say our living room super comfy, very nice feng shui, you know.
Mm.
And so we're like talking unemotionally, reflecting, and the lights, and it was Christmas around Christmas time, all the lights, Christmas lights inside the house, lamps were pulsating like a heartbeat, the most intense brightness I had ever seen in our living room. And she noticed it, I noticed it, but it was more than that. It was just like overwhelming feeling of like euphoria and bliss that I literally, if you could buy it, I would be poor. I told her I'd be poor on a fucking street corner. Like, give me your change. I gotta get the bliss. You know, like
Wow.
it was so insane. And like it was nuts because I'll just mention this. I'm tied to my work because it's for people. Like I work for community, right? And so I'm tied to it. But every time it would start going into like, you know, something maybe seemingly unimportant, like, well, we got to get the funding so we can keep pushing this, you know, forward. Like everything would stop, like, and become normal. And I would just keep going. My wife would be like, hey, did you notice like everything's up? And so it was just like this weird experience. Well, it never happened again. And it was like so amazing that I knew I had no control over it. So it's not something I chased either. Like I wasn't like the next day. Yeah, I was probably burning incense because I was feeling the vibe because I was on like, I had this feeling of comfort and like, I can't explain it. So a big event happens like 2 weeks ago. We come back from a damn hurricane, me and my wife, and Mexico. I have like this killer meeting that something I've been working for basically my whole adult life. We nail it. I'm on my way home. I'm telling my wife something very important about rebrand, like getting rid of like all this stuff. And I just literally just started busting out crying. Like it was the weirdest thing. Like I was like, "Rah!" For like 12 minutes. It's oddly specific that I know that 12 minutes.
In 32 seconds.
Yeah, 32 seconds. My wife, bless her. And what's crazy is I think that if we wouldn't have had that first experience, she wouldn't have understood what was happening. But because we had that first experience, she was actually feeling it too.
But you felt the same bliss.
That's it.
That's the
It was a
commonality
shitty
of
day.
this story.
It was a shitty Oklahoma day, wind blowing, but like the sunset looked incredible. I felt I felt like the hand of God reached into my chest. And I'm like, it was nuts. And even since then, I've just been on kind of a high from it. Like it's tapered down, obviously. But specifically, like the next like 4 or 5 days, it was like, but then Dean came on and kind of explained it. He's like, a vibration, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's why I kept asking you about like that emotional side of it, because I feel like that's such a interesting part of the paranormal experience.
When you feel like that was your brother,
I do, yeah.
communicate.
I feel like he was like, hey man, it's cool. Yeah, good decision. Boom. I'm back out, because if I could feel that for eternity, I would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
can't explain it. It's like literally
It sounds like those NDEs people have. You know, they talk about like they don't want to come back. It's like
yeah.
the feeling is just like, oh, this is so wonderful.
Well, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Like even that experience, like that experience you had, that you're able to retell about the chain, I think that's really a fascinating story because it's simple. Like my experience was simple. I didn't have like fucking a lamp flying at my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
didn't have this.
Right.
It was this kind of like everyday thing. Like, I was just literally driving down the road.
Yeah.
Like, I was driving down a boring ass road, like in Canadian County, Oklahoma. But this profound experience happened to me. And it was nuts. So, yeah, that's I like both of those stories so much. But yeah, the one with the as a friend of physics, somebody that like enjoys to look at things, that's beyond me. And
Yeah,
you drew that conclusion about somebody lifting it.
I even told my roommate who was, so I'm in my mid 30s and she was in her mid 50s, and so I approached her and said like, and she's pretty analytical like
Right.
person, and I was like, I want to tell you something that happened in the bathroom, but I don't want to freak you out. I also don't want you to think I'm insane. I kind of just want to see if you can think of any explanation. So I went in and showed her and she humored me. And, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. But, that emotion in the bathtub, it was kind of I wanted to get back to that because you mentioned that emotional feeling. Bathtub was kind of a neutral, just curious feeling.
Right.
But the kitchen was like the exact opposite of bliss.
Right.
It was like total terror.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say this. So there's one more thing. Can I tell you another very, very weird story, man? So this one, I don't think I've talked a little bit about it, but I haven't talked. I feel like this is a good environment to kind of like not only tell the story, but give you guys my conclusions or
please,
not conclusions, but insights into it, man.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Insights and to get your reactions. Cause
I love it.
With the guy, I didn't tell him my insights because I was worried actually for his mental state. I'll just go ahead and I'll get right into it. So I had this roommate. All these stories seem to come from roommates, or at least this one. A guy from India. I didn't know this. I shouldn't tell his name but yeah, I had a roommate and he ended up, we became friends. We went out to the movies together. We go out to eat. And I mean, he only moved in for a few months, but we had a lot of overlapping spiritual ideas and we'd have good, deeper conversations. One night, he had a full blown schizophrenic episode. That's when I learned that he had legit deep schizophrenia. Or I don't, like not like surface level or whatever you'd say. Like this guy was not faking it for attention or
right.
Now, did you know about
the
that
things
before?
he told me when he first went into it were just some of the strangest things. But then he had this delusion that he was channeling Jackie Chan or not Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, to the point that he literally was Bruce Lee, and he started talking like him. Like, I am Bruce Lee, Tyler. You must understand. We will practice in the ways of spiritual discourse. This is very important. To the point that I actually, when you talk about that emotional response of fear and having no idea how to react, that was the same exact feeling. I called a mental health hotline and they were not really much help. And anyways, the thing culminated with him being his parents driving down from they lived in Boston and getting him involuntarily committed, and it ended up being kind of a pretty tragic story. But so in his spiritual delusions, I had a couple moments where I questioned if he actually was channeling something from the spiritual realm that was like a deeper kind of profound thing. And he would do this thing where he would kind of like, when he was talking to me, he would kind of look to his side and whisper to himself like he was talking to someone else. Weird. And one of the things he told me was today, so this was in the morning before he got committed, he said, you're going to have a beautiful experience today with your family. I believe he said that. And I kind of kept my mind open. And that moment of bliss that you talked about, I experienced that in just a really simple moment of driving down a mountain. It started raining and the sun started shining through, and I was with my two younger cousins in the car. We were listening to music, and like that moment of bliss overtook me, and I was again very like questioning throughout the whole day. Like, I'm not going to force myself to believe something is happening, but I was kind of aware of it. Like, I wonder if what he said, if that will actually happen, because it's not every day someone tells you, makes a prophecy or something, or says this is going to happen to you.
For sure.
My audio cut out. I can't hear you guys.
Oh no.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can. Okay. Oh, how about now? Say something again.
Hello.
Oh, okay. I got you guys back.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm at the edge.
See what happens when you talk about this?
I'm at the edge of my damn seat.
Okay, now let me tell you two more weird things that involve this story. We went out to eat. My whole family, there was one of those little fortune tellers that would spit out little tickets. You paid $1. We all got a fortune. And the one it said to me, I wish I kept it. I probably took a picture of it somewhere. But my roommate, he would always wear this old raggedy hat. And the fortune was like, the man who wears an old hat, like, he's not harmful, or like it said something about him, like you can trust him. He's not a fool, but like you can trust the things he tells you. So I was like, what? Whoa. And it was so spot on that I showed my other roommate, and she was like, yeah, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
And then one more, and this is the one I haven't told anybody, because I was raised Catholic. I think you said
I was raised
have a
Catholic
Catholic
as well.
Background.
Yeah.
So I don't put a lot of, I'm not Catholic anymore. I have some Christian ideas and some Buddhist ideas, but
we relate, homie.
The day, so this is the really weird part. The day he got committed and the day he was making a lot of strange prophecies, but he was also telling me nonsense. Like, he told me I was going to star in the next remake of Lord of the Rings as Sauron. He was going to hook me up with this role, and I was like, all right, bud.
Yeah.
But then saying other things where I was like, whoa, wait a second.
For sure.
So that day was wait, I had it up here. Here, hang on one second. Pentecost 2020. That day that he got committed was May 28th of this year, which is the Pentecost, which I don't remember how I found that. I was like looking through my Wikipedia stuff, and then I got on the Pentecost day, and I was looking up, what is the Pentecost? Wait a second. So it's like,
what is it?
It's the day where let me make sure I'm not making a fool of myself. I think it was the day where the Christian holiday where they were the Holy Spirit came into the people of, I forget where it was, but they started speaking in tongues and different. They started speaking in different languages, and let me actually pull it up. We're all together the day of the Pentecost. Yeah, filled with the Holy Spirit and begin to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. It's like they started speaking in other languages that they didn't know and stuff like that. So anyways,
that's really weird.
And I didn't tell him that. It was too far out. I haven't actually told anybody that, to be honest. I might have told my mom, but I think she was the only one. But
that is like those things together, right? Well, those things separate really too. I mean, I think it's weird that you brought up fortunes, because in our show last week, I told Dean the weirdest thing is I've been craving Chinese food for like 2 months. And so after this experience, literally the next dinner, I was like, yo, Chinese food for everybody. And I have the fortunes. I found them. I told Dean, I was like, dude, like every fortune was oddly specific. Like, it was so bizarre. So that's interesting.
I wish I had saved that exact fortune, because it was so So strange.
Well, we have people on here at times that say, and it's always mind blowing, but it's very hard for spirits to connect, really, right?
Yeah.
To form words, to access energy, to funnel, to get your damn attention, right?
Right. Flickering the lights.
Right. And sometimes it manifests, it seems almost evil when it's really not, right? But also, for an evil entity, right? If it was evil or something, or even a good entity, it would be somebody in that state would be more susceptible, no?
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, he also claimed, my roommate, and this is another thing that is just out there, but I have no way to prove or disprove it. But he claimed that there was an African demon that was coming into him, that was like possessing him, and that's what was because he would start saying some weird shit, like he said he wanted to rape his mother at one point. And
see, I kind of wonder sometimes if schizophrenia could be possession.
Yeah,
possibly.
Like a form of it.
Yeah, because I mean, we hear about people talking in different languages and things like that they never spoke that language before. And when you were telling that story, I was kind of wondering if the guy was maybe possessed or something. What became of him? What do you know? Or
I try to stay friends with him, but he really had a deep distrust of medicine and therapy, and he just was not so like actually before he left, we ended up not having to evict him because he voluntarily left, but he was inviting homeless people to stay in the house.
Oh no.
Oh God.
And just doing very, like, he would smoke. He was just not in a healthy state of mind.
Right,
Like,
for sure.
he was not eating, he was not sleeping, and he would wake up and start smoking weed for like, he would smoke like 10 joints and then smoke like five, like, well, not that many, but like literally 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes on the porch when he was in that. It was like a mania. It was like total.
Right.
And then he would tell me things like that I knew, and I talked with his family, that seemed to not be true, like false memories and flashbacks he seemed to be having of things. And there were little glimpses in there where I think he actually was. And that's what I told him afterwards. I met up with him after he got out of the hospital because he was committed for a couple weeks. And I said, I think you're right that you actually, because that's what he said, like, I'm channeling Bruce Lee. Like, I know I'm not Bruce Lee, but like somehow his spirit and these other spirits were channeling through me. And I'm like, I think you're right. Like, or at least it's possible.
Right.
But it's so chaotic for you and
to operate.
your family. That it was just devastating because his parents being there,
I know,
and seeing how it was affecting them and his younger brother. And like, I don't know any other solutions other than medication for that severe type of schizophrenia.
When he was on his medication, was he normal, or
he would? I never saw him on medication. I know they put him on medication when he was in the hospital, but he stopped taking it right after he got out.
Did you know he had schizophrenia when you met him, or was that
no?
So that had to really freak you out all of a sudden when he starts doing this. When
he said the Bruce Lee thing, and he was doing this thing, man, he would stand over here, and he'd be like, Tyler, I am Bruce Lee. You must understand me. We will do spiritual discourse. And then he would go like this. He would physically jump over, like we were standing on the porch.
Oh my gosh.
He would jump over this side. He'd be like, hey, man, it's me. Like, you can trust Bruce Lee. Like, he's my friend. I know him. Like, trust him. Listen to everything he's saying. He would jump over. Yes. Listen to him.
Yes.
I am Bruce Lee. You can trust. And anytime I try to break in, like, listen, man, come on. Just let me say one thing. He'd be like, no, you be quiet. Like, he would get very upset. Like it was like a life or death thing.
Yeah.
And it was like fucking 2 a.m. I'm like, dude, I got to go to bed. And like, I got to write a podcast and record tonight. Right. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to make sure you're okay on the porch. Like, you're not gonna, and then, the next morning we found a homeless guy, like, sleeping in his room, and he was gone. and we're
Oh
like,
my.
"Oh, what's going on,
You
man?"
do bring up like such a good point though. Like, I mean, it's a slippery slope, but we interviewed the past life regressionist.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard like looked into?
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar
I
with
would
it.
just be curious, like if you did have somebody that had schizophrenia that refused absolutely to take medications and claimed that they were like having these different spirits that were like they were a portal, right? That would be a great experiment to say, okay, well, how did you become the portal? Right?
Yeah.
Just to see.
Very much so.
Be
When
like,
he stopped, or was Bruce Lee the only thing channeling through him? Did he have any other personalities that you remember?
Well, that one, it was like a specific unnamed African demon, like ancient
Okay.
African demon.
Did he
And
change
that's what
his
he
voice as
How did
well?
Oh,
that
is
just
that me?
happen?
What?
What?
How did that happen?
That was cool. AI.
that-
Fuck, dude.
Whoa, dude. What?
Oh, what?
See,
Wait,
now,
what happens if I do this?
let's see.
What is
It's raining.
That is nice.
So that's the new
That's really
updates, I
weird.
guess, with StreamYard.
Bro, what is that? That's
That's
crazy. Is there
crazy.
any other ones? Like,
Well, hey,
Oh.
this is actually a perfect segue really fast because, dude, I feel
Yeah,
like that
peace.
we probably need to do a part.
Look,
oh,
We're gonna have to do a part 2.
I like
I've
that.
got to figure out StreamYard. Apparently,
You're gonna have to upgrade. Or what's
So
it
we
called?
were having a paranormal
update.
thing for a second, man. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what,
yeah.
yeah, I'll contact.
That is
what am I
I'll
funny.
seeing,
contact
man?
StreamYard tomorrow and I'll go. We don't have anything like that. What are you
Yeah,
talking
what the
about?
hell, man? Yeah,
You guys were having a mass
How come
psychosis.
it doesn't do it when we do it?
I think we might
Is
have
it
to
just for the
update it.
guest?
You might not be close enough. Like it seemed like it had to be like pretty
Here, walk up
defined.
to the camera, Garrett.
Not working.
Yeah, go back. Oh wait, you almost had it. Right there, right there, right there.
Oh yeah, I see. It's like the screen changed a little bit. Okay, we're gonna have to look into that.
That's weird. Maybe it's just for the guest.
Hey, I'm gonna have to
When they're
call-
having a bad time, they go.
I'm gonna have to circle back to you
Yeah.
too, like tomorrow because we're gonna have to do a part 2. Like I'm looking at my notes, and we're not even like it's just been a paranormal show the whole time, which is amazing. Like me and Keith, we live for paranormal stuff.
We just chit
Awesome.
chat. Yeah.
Well, but I had a really like pointed question to you though, and because we have had some really deep conversations on the times you've been in. So what do you think happens when you die? If like all this stuff is happening, like what happens?
I'm my personal beliefs. I'm pretty agnostic. Like I'm pretty open minded that there could be an afterlife. There might not be. Personally, I tend to go more towards some kind of like very scientific reincarnation. Like not necessarily your soul, maybe a soul. I'm not sure if I believe in a soul, but like that energy is transferred to a new thing. Maybe it's a new life form.
That's kind of what I think. 'Cause
Yeah,
you can't destroy energy, and
right,
so it's got to go somewhere.
right.
So that's one thing I do. I do believe in reincarnation, that you can just bring your energy to another spirit or body or whatever, and
Right.
continue on. Yeah, I'm very open minded.
I felt like we had talked about reincarnation at some point in one of the times we spoke. So that's why I was curious. I was actually going to follow up with that. And we spoke like at length about AI. And I know it's even more weird of a segue to go.
We just got a new Beatles song from AI.
Well, here's what's crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is so like in preparation for this, I was like, I want to go look at the first AI show we did like 2.5 years ago or something like that.
Oh, it's excelled so much.
And it's funny because like we were talking about the common things people were talking about 2 years ago, right? Like it's gonna take our jobs. I was telling Cass, I was like, yeah, I was telling her kind of about the show and stuff. My wife, Cass, his daughter, and I said, I was like, so to go from that show, then to fast forward to like last month, 2 months ago, maybe I'm sitting down here and Keith in the living room. He's like, man, I got to show you something. And he, he's a huge Beatles guy, right? Like played John Lennon for years and years, expert. And it was a song.
Yeah.
And it evoked an emotional response, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, it did. It was, I don't know how old you are, but back in 1995, they did an anthology of the Beatles' career. So the 3 remaining Beatles got back together. Yoko Ono had sent a cassette tape of 4 demos that John did, and so they were going to try to put it in a studio, and all the Beatles were going to play on it, so they could actually have another Beatle, 2 or 3 Beatles songs. And there's one particular one that some of the other bootlegs got released. There's this one song called "Grow Old with Me," and I thought, God, why didn't they do that? And I always wished in my lifetime that that song would have got finished. Some guy on the internet who's a master with AI took John's voice, took Paul's voice, had Paul harmonizing with John, and then even had like Paul singing the second verse of it. Yeah, and it was something like that was one of my favorite songs. So yeah, I teared up, and I was like, because that's a song I thought before I die, I'd love to have heard what that would have sounded like, and I got that chance. But just recently, there was a 4th song, and that's the other one that they just released last week. I don't know if you heard it or not, but
it's insane.
Yeah,
TZ, it's like that moment down there with him, that was really like touching to me. That was because I felt that again, that energy, that weird kind of unexplainable energy that was created through this experience. And so then to circle back not that long later to see the flipping video, the song that they're releasing on AI. It's just, do you think that it's moving quicker than what we even have any idea of?
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't think there's any
absolutely
argument. It's like exponential, true exponential, like, and there's no cap to it. You know, that's kind of the creepy thing. Like, where is it going to go? Like,
and whose hands it going to be in, you know?
And sentience, you know, the idea of the singularity, and what if it just sees humans as a pest or a hindrance to its goals?
Yeah, did you see today? It was either today or yesterday. Elon Musk put out a thing. He's looking for 11 volunteers to do the Neuralink.
Oh God!
And he said, well, he said the procedure is, he goes, we do have to take just a chunk of your skull, remove it, and then put this implant in. There's like 3 or 4 wires that they connect to the brain, and he's looking for 11 people to try this. And I'm like,
the door is open now.
It's probably as safe as
oh my, like, hey, at least
sticking my head in a
microwave. Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thinking we
will not be using Wi-Fi. We will be directly plugged into the internet, I promise.
But I mean, that could go terribly. Who the hell is going to do that? That could go terribly wrong. I mean, like walk by a microwave, and you're like, you know,
I will say this, like Elon, I know he's a controversial guy. If you take away any of the political underlyings, liberalism, conservatism, and you look at his like track record of like making these grand promises of what his company's going to do, and then like what they actually deliver on. Like, I used to be the person who would defend Elon and say, I really don't understand why people hate him. And I still don't. It's pretty strange to like hate someone you've never met, and just because of weird shit posting on Twitter. But yeah, like I just started doing some deep dives into like the Hyperloop that never came to fruition, the weird taxis that he said were going to come out, the Cybertruck, which still hasn't delivered like 5 years later.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I think I'd rather stick my head in the microwave for 10 minutes than put his. I would try it from somebody, but I don't know if I trust his.
But man, that would be. It's like, it's so weird that, because like Nikola Tesla, right? Like if you look at his life, it's so weird he named his stuff like Tesla, because he's almost following the same exact thing. Nikola Tesla has some crazy ass experiments.
Well, you know, all his
like projects, right?
Yeah, and all his important papers were stolen.
Yeah,
like he said, he could figure out how to completely run electricity with a few poles and some wires under the ground that we wouldn't have to have generators and things. And
what was it that we saw in your backyard? What was that called again?
Oh, Starlink.
Dude, we saw Starlink.
Oh wow!
In Oklahoma, we're in Oklahoma City. Like, and it was the creepiest thing because
we thought it was a UFO.
Keith is way more tech savvy than I am, even, and I'm like, So yeah, we're in the backyard like swimming and stuff at night, and I'm like, Keith, what the fuck is this? Oh my god! He comes outside, and we're just like, oh, and all my kids are freaking out, thinking we're
Oh,
gonna get
wow.
They were
abducted.
crying. Yeah.
I have little kids like 6 and 4, and a 13-year-old girl, all girls. So they were like, ah, freaking out. Dude, this thing was coming at us. We were just in awe. And
it was coming over the house, and it looked like it looked like a chain of lights. It was just like coming. And I
very
didn't,
close,
I
it
didn't
felt
know
like.
anything about Starlink at the time, but you can go ahead and finish.
I texted my friend and I said, "Hey, dude, what is this?" And all he responded was, "Hi, Elon."
So we look up
Yeah.
Starlink, and we
I was like,
find it
"God
looks
damn
exactly
it."
the same.
And
So
then, dude, it just
Oh,
disappeared right
wow.
over us. And I told
that's wild.
well, it's kind of funny that night we were having a family sleepover. Like we're super weird, awesome family. But I like brought my entire family over to Keith's house. Like, let's have a family sleepover. And so we were chit and chatting about it like all night. And I said it's crazy because the summer before, so last summer, I'm sitting at Disney World, Epcot, drinking a beer like in Ireland, like the fake Ireland.
yeah,
And literally, I'm seeing SpaceX just fucking launch into space, and everybody's like on their phones and just hustling around. And I'm just drinking a beer, and I'm just looking around at like thousands of people, and I'm like, nobody even notices that Elon Musk is shooting a rocket in space right now.
Yeah.
It's so normal. Like,
But he's like
yeah.
everywhere I go now, right? He's
Mhm.
like, and so yeah, it's bizarre, man. He's opening a box though, for sure, right?
Mhm.
right. So what cases have you been working on, man?
So the
anything?
one upcoming is going to be probably my most research intensive, or as far as using primary audio, because it's been the whole trial has been televised. So I'm actually in the process right now. I'm about halfway through of 40 to 50 hours of raw court
Oh
trials,
my God.
which is fascinating to me.
I
I mean, I
bet,
watch them on
yeah.
like 1.5 speed, sometimes
Right,
2x.
right.
Yeah.
But man, it's I don't want to give the case away, but I
For
will
sure.
say, so our first season was a father who murdered his son, and this one's going to be a reverse. It's going to be a son who murders his parents.
Huh?
And it's a really interesting case in trying to figure out the motives. This case has been covered a lot, but I think I have an insight into it that maybe has been suggested, but I don't think has been fully explored. That is really driving my interest in it. Yeah.
So you can't tell us the case?
Well, actually, I guess I can. There's really no reason. That's Chandler Halderson. So he murdered his parents. And yeah, there's a bunch of great videos about it, which made me hesitant to even tackle it because I don't like to do cases that have been done so well
Yeah.
before.
You
But I
you
do
a good
think
job,
that
dude.
I think there's this angle to it that really has not been explored.
There must be if you're doing it.
Yeah, I think there is, and I'm trying to think if I could say the angle. I want to kind of keep that a
Yeah,
little bit of a secret, but
trust your gut.
yeah, I will say that it's that kind of diving into his psychology. He was either a pathological liar, or a compulsive liar, or maybe some combination of both. And some combination of psychopath or sociopath. But the thing that makes this case the most interesting to me is the lack of how should I say it? The lack of extenuating circumstances. Like it wasn't severe abuse. It wasn't
Right.
like for all we know is that, or from what we know, is that it was a fairly normal, happy family. That even when you dig under the surface, there really was no, at least obvious, um, trauma, abuse. I mean, there were a few little hiccups here and there, but normal family stuff. So that's what really made me so fascinated with this case at first. Like, what's the motive is very strange. It's very benign, uh, seemingly benign for such an intense reaction like murdering your parents. Um, so yeah, it's just a interesting
Rabbit hole.
case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your stuff is interesting because it's like last time we was on, I don't know if you remember, I said you've gone over cases I've never even heard of. And so it's like,
Yeah.
where do you find this stuff, dude?
Yeah, this one.
Is this like internet searching? Just
How did I first find this case? Oh, somebody had published the raw uh phone calls because apparently if you're in jail in certain states, I mean, obviously the jail and the police are monitoring all your outgoing phone calls, but in certain states you can get those phone calls under the Freedom of Information
Oh
Act.
my gosh.
yeah.
So this great channel, man. So I wish I remember it, Rottweiler True Crime or something. They were just publishing the raw. They were taking, any Patreon donations and using that money to file Freedom of Information Act, and they had all these raw phone calls between this suspect and his girlfriend. And so that's what first got me interested in it. And then I started seeing, I mean, there's the police interrogation with his girlfriend, with him. There's all the court footage. So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
really
Plethora.
not like most true crime podcasts, and this is, I think which makes a lot of true crime really interesting is like trying to solve a mystery, but there's not really a mystery in this one. Like,
Right. Right.
this guy did it. So the mystery for me becomes like, what's the motive?
The mystery is that there's no mystery.
Exactly.
Well, that's I mean, that's very odd that you got a kid who wasn't severely abused, and you said it didn't look like there's anything in the background that would
it's
have
an
been a
outlier.
motivation to kill the family. So that's very rare.
And
Very rare.
the thing that I think I've uncovered is, and it's not like I'm not like some kind of like Sherlock Holmes uncovering it. I think if anybody saw the stuff I have, they would come to the exact same conclusion. But I think the prosecution has no motive to really delve into it because they can just prove the murder straight
Right.
up. The defense doesn't have a real motive to bring up this reasoning because it's not a valid defense. Like,
right.
if you explain it, it doesn't mean you're not guilty. So they have no reason to really go into it. So I'm left with, well, wait a second. The whole explanation is right here, but why would anybody really go digging for it? It's a solved case.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, wait, but this is so interesting. Like,
there's got to be a reason.
It's like the
Yeah, I
most
think there
important
is,
part.
yeah.
Did he turn himself in, or what happened with that, or did he run from it and they caught him, or
he was very much one of, so in well, he's not a serial killer, but in anyone who commits a homicide, there's usually two classifications: disorganized and organized killers. And so you have those ones that very methodically plan it out and figure out exactly when they're going to do it, dispose of the evidence. And then there's those ones that it just kind of becomes an opportunity and an impulsive decision. So this was not, this is one of the I mean, obviously I don't know his IQ, but it seems to be one of the lowest IQ murders. So unplanned, so ridiculous, the excuses he gives, laughable if it wasn't for the tragedy
right.
behind it, because you're just like, do you think everyone else is stupid? Like, how are you? So no, I mean, it just became a clear-cut case of the police just lining all the pieces up. It'd almost be like like I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Just like it's like there's a big bucket of red spilled paint, on the sidewalk, and there's paint all over my hands and my feet and all over my room. And then they try to ask me who did it, and I try to say, it's not like the police were experts. Yeah, I mean, it was just basically
pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, just observing what happened and realizing like, this is the only thing that he maybe had going for him was, I mean, there wasn't like an eyewitness to the actual murder happening, but I mean, they had the bodies recovered, they had all the circumstantial evidence pointed to him, they had motive. I'm very surprised. In fact, I want to talk. Do you know Bob Mata?
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely bring him on for an after show because my main question right now is why or how it even went to trial, because his defense had no defense. Literally every time there's a cross examination, they just decline to ask questions. The opening statement was like, please don't convict him. But like, it was just like, what? Like, yeah, it's bizarre that it even went to trial. But
Bob's killing the Delphi case right now.
oh man, he does such good work.
He
I'm in
does. He's
love with
awesome.
Bob's podcast. Holy shit.
Super smart guy, just and very down to earth and nice, you know.
Yeah.
We've had him
What
on
a great angle too to have.
Well, he actually, when you were on the last time, he was in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but we've had him on a couple of times talking about Delphi and that case.
He was commenting on artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he was. Right.
He loves going down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah.
But, man, have you kept up with the Delphi? Like the judge has fired the 2 defense attorneys, and
I just know the surface level, but I don't even know enough to have an opinion about it. I've just seen how crazy it is.
Yeah, it's insane. It's super insane. And it just keeps getting, I mean, right when you think, okay, we're at the end of this case, then there's something else that happens. And the defense, I mean, they released a pretty good statement that kind of gives you some reasonable doubt that this guy may not have done it. So I think he's guilty in some portion. I kind of think maybe he had some help. I'm not sure. But, you know, Bob's like, Bob doesn't think he's guilty, I don't think.
I remember his first instinct right off the bat was that he wasn't too.
Yeah, the PCA was real thin. It was like they didn't have a lot of evidence. All the only physical evidence that tied him to the crime scene was an unspent cartridge that they said that has the same markings of his .40 caliber, Richard Allen's .40 caliber, if you pull it back. But Bob said, you know, that's kind of junk science. And
hey, I'm gonna have to go back and check, but I almost think that when we had the prosecutors podcast on, I think that Bob actually hopped on that.
He did. Yeah, we had
because
Bob.
We were talking about
because we thought we could do the trial. We got the prosecution, we have the defense.
Dude,
and we'll be the judges. You guys present your case. Bobby presents yours.
I gotta watch that episode. I missed that one.
Well,
it didn't turn out to be like that, but that's what we were hoping.
Well, it was like it's kind of like crazy though, because we Delphi is something kind of like, you know, AI. I'm not saying
Brett,
but we've done it for years, so it's like it's interesting to go back really like years and 100 episodes ago and to see where things kind of line up over the episodes.
It's so funny because, you know, Brett and Alice are good friends with Bob and Allie, his wife, and like Brett is like, this guy's guilty, Bob. He did it. There's, you know, and Bob's like, no, you don't know that. So it's like, but I mean, they love each other, but they're going at it about, you know, they just have differences about it. But it's funny.
Super passionate. I love seeing the passion, like in their.
I do too, and thank God there's people like Bob Motta, because you know there are innocent people that go to prison that, you know, when you get a court-appointed attorney, it's not the best attorney, you know, money's going to get you, right? So. Bob's just, I love his passion. I love that, you know, he said, look, he goes, even if the guy is guilty, he said he should get a fair trial.
Absolutely.
Right? And
everyone should. Yeah.
No one constitutional rights should be violated at all. And that's what I love about Bob. And so he's even kind of digging real deep into all this evidence against the girls. And he's even kind of, you know, I was for sure Richard Allen's guilty, but after watching Bob and talking to him about it, I don't know. And if I'm on a jury and that's all they have, physical evidence tying him to the deal, because when they searched his house, they found nothing. He had a bunch of like hard drives, and they went through them. There was no pictures of the girls. There was no weird evidence, nothing. And I couldn't send a guy to rest of his life just off of a bullet casing that could possibly came from his gun.
Yeah, it's nuts,
but it is crazy. Well, man, we're gonna let you go, buddy. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, we're gonna have to do part 2.
Do the Richard
at
Nixon
some point.
Again.
I love that.
God, I wish we could do that.
Oh, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. We'll have to. Yeah, the next guest we have on, we're going to say, "Hey, do a peace sign."
Let's ask AI later.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
but
we appreciate you, man.
So how much?
Thank you
how
so
much work you got left on this case about this kid?
Man, quite a bit. I'm like right in the middle of it. I have a lot of ideas how this season's going to go. I kind of have half of an outline, but yeah, there's still a lot of footwork. I always start getting antsy because I haven't put out an episode in like a month. But I am doing. I'll hook you guys up with this too if you want to hear it. But I'm
Absolutely.
doing a podcast, a side thing on Patreon. Every month I'm releasing one, and it's called Night Terrors.
I saw that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I saw
So
that.
it's still true crime, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
short. I'm strictly sticking to the one episode per case. So,
Cool.
but yeah, I'll tell you real quick if you have time.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, man.
absolutely.
I'll just it'll take like 60 seconds, 30 seconds. The one we just did was this case of this guy, whose name was Stephen Plattle, and he gave his daughter up for adoption when she was probably 3 or 4, maybe, and maybe even younger. She sought him out when she turned 18 because she wanted to find out who her biological parents were. She found them, and he seduced her, divorced his wife, married his own biological daughter, and had a baby with her.
I know this case. I think.
This one
Yeah.
happened in 2017, 2016. It's
Right.
2017 is when it culminated.
Yeah, I think I know this case.
So it's a wild case, man. So yeah, if you guys want to hear those little one-offs, I'll hook you up with the Patreon if you're
Cool, man.
interested.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Everybody probably
Love to.
thought that the screen was frozen, but I seriously, my eyes were so big when you were telling me what, like you.
Yeah,
I was like,
It's a crazy story, dude.
Dude, it's crazy. And it ends in complete
my
tragedy.
God, dude.
Well,
death
tell everybody how they can find your podcast and go right ahead, man.
Yeah, so just search obviously like Spotify and Apple are the big ones. So just search Tapes from the Dark Side. Not Tales, it's Tapes. It's our little play on Tales.
Right.
Yes.
So tapes as in audio tape. The little spinning
Yes.
old things we used to listen to.
Right.
And then we're on Patreon if you want to join and support and hear some bonus content. And yeah, basically just search Tapes from the Dark Side, tapesfromthedarkside.com, where all of our links are if you have another podcast player.
Yeah, because you got cool stuff.
Yeah,
like
you
your
do.
Swag, like your whole thing you got going, man, is really good. Just keep it up.
Very cool.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
What was I going to say?
He's getting old.
I'm getting old. I'm 58. I'm 58 now. So anyway, I wish I could think of what I was going to say, but anyway, have a great night. Thank you again
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much, man.
And after you
Seriously.
get done with that, contact us and let's talk. And Garrett and I will look into the case as well, so we kind of know what's going on and let's have a discussion on it, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be a wild one. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Thank you
right.
so much. TZ,
Thank you,
right?
guys. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Give us another one.
Heath.
Yeah, make the thing do
The
something.
Nixon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it went away.
Oh, wait.
Here we go.
Oh.
Gotta get them just right. All right. I'll see you
All
guys.
right, man.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot,
guys.
buddy.
See
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Well, that was
Okay.
fascinating.
That was very cool. And that case he's talking about,
Yes.
dude, it is insane. It's
I'm
insane.
gonna have to look at it.
Yeah, there's if it's the same one I'm thinking of, there's a series on Netflix, I think. It's about 4 episodes, and it is crazy. It's like the whole time this guy's with this girl. It's his biological daughter. She doesn't know. He's having sex with her.
Oh, he doesn't. Don't tell me everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, let me say this about TZ. Is he's the thing I like about him is he does he looks for really careful angles on stories, and I think that's kind of why dude, that paranormal experience he had, for me, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so grateful that he came on and shared that with us.
I am too. That was a good show.
Man,
good show.
Great stuff.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And if Susie's in the house, and I need to tell her, Susie, thank you so much for moderating. I'm not sure she's here tonight.
Yeah.
But she usually she works crazy hours. So thank you, Susie, for all the help you do for us. And we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys next week.
Good
we
night.
love you. And thank you for your time. Good night.
Bye.
God, how come we can't make
I
that
don't
do
know,
that?
dude. We're going to figure it out.
Okay. All right. Good night.